Welcome back to Ripewave Audio Community, where we explore together all types of home audio systems from hi-fi to home theater. My name is John, and for this video, we will explore how to access media files from a USB drive or a home network from the Sony UBP-X1100ES Ultra High Definition Universal Blu-ray Player. Ripewave Audio now has several videos on the Sony UBP-X1100ES player. I have provided links and a playlist to those for your convenience. In the previous videos, we focused on physical media, which is why I purchased the X1100ES player, to play disc. However, this unit also supports playing USB or network accessible media. While I suspect there are better ways to access those sources, let's give the X1100ES a chance to display its full capabilities. To test the USB playback, I first moved some content onto a USB drive. Something I've never attempted before, but I do have digital copies of my music, as well as a few movies in my iTunes library. Hopefully, the process doesn't require me to perform any conversions or packaging. As this is only a test, I just grabbed the nearest USB drive I could find. That drive turned out to have 4 GB capacity, which should be enough to copy a variety of files for the test. Fortunately, iTunes keeps the sources of the files individually in folders, so you can locate those and use them independently from iTunes and not something like a proprietary database file. Most of my iTunes library was created from 44.1 kHz PCM data found on the original compact disc using Apple's lossless codec and stored in a M4A MPEG-4 audio container file. I used 2 examples of this type, randomly 10,000 Maniacs in My Tribe and the very best of 10cc. Next, I copied the Wings at the Speed of Sound Deluxe Edition from the Paul McCartney Archive series, which I purchased from HD Tracks in the uncompressed and unlimited form at 96 kHz and stored as AIFF-C. Also used from HD Tracks is an example of Charles Lloyd's Manhattan Stories at 44.1 kHz sampling rate on AIFF-C files. After the copy was complete, I ejected the USB drive and plugged it into the X1100ES, a port concealed by a plastic cover on the lower front panel. Once connected, I simply selected USB from the menu. The interface overall is uninspiring. It is essentially a basic file explorer. By default, video sources are selected, and the full contents of the USB drive can be viewed. While I can understand why folders are viewable, I don't understand why the X1100ES doesn't filter out the non-video file types if video is selected. And then if you select one of the non-video file types, you get an error. In addition to the lack of filtering, it is not possible to search for a specific movie, photo, or music by album, artist, or track. Knowing how your files are organized on the USB is necessary to navigate to the desired content. However, Playback worked with a few exceptions. I was not able to play movies that were copy protected. I believe some of those issues can be resolved by transcoding the content before transferring them to the USB drive. Another annoying aspect of the Playback is that it is not possible to search while playing the file. You must first stop the music and then go through the awful navigation on the drive. Furthermore, you cannot configure playlists, so you must listen to the songs in the sequence they are on the drive, or stop Playback to search. As Playback is not gapless, you don't want to listen to flowing albums like Abbey Road using USB. While the USB drive may be the simplest, most direct way to deliver a library to the X1100ES, it is not elegant, and there are better ways to get the job done. I then moved on to investigate the home network feature, as Sony labels it. The feature leverages DLNA, which stands for Digital Living Network Alliance, and is a technology that was introduced in 2003 by Sony, Intel, and Microsoft, and is built on public standards such as Universal Plug and Play. DLNA has wide adoption and is used in TVs, DVD, Blu-ray players, game consoles, digital media players, cameras, NAS devices, PCs, etc. Devices can be certified as DLNA compliant, although I was surprised to see that Sony is no longer bothering to get their devices certified and did not certify the X1100ES. The Sony manual only has a few paragraphs on this feature, so unless you had prior experience, you would not learn what the requirements are for the server and that this is a DLNA-based connection. To use the X1100ES as a digital media player, I first needed to configure a digital media server, DMS. For this, I used my iMac from 2009. Several free or free for trial period servers are available with my setup. I decided to try three: the Plex Media Server, Servio, and the Universal Media Server. While Roon is regarded by many as the best option for in-house music streaming, Roon's trial period ends after 14 days, and I want to fully investigate all options before committing to a subscription. I will conduct a deep review of these solutions in a future video. Each of these servers can coexist on my iMac and run simultaneously. Not worrying about any performance issues that may have resulted from running these together, this allowed me to easily compare experiences with the X1100ES. The good news was the X1100ES recognized all these servers and automatically connected to each. Now, if a server was not detected initially, it is possible to force an update of the server list from the network settings of the player under Connection Server Settings. From there, the Update Server List function is available by pushing the Options button on the remote. The Universal Media Server connection was a little challenging, as I was not able to fully navigate the files and was getting playback errors. Going back to view the logs on the iMac-based server, I could see errors being reported with the connection to the Sony X1100ES. To resolve, I limited the renderer configuration to just one Sony profile. As my exact model was not listed, the one for the Sony BDP-S3700 profile seems to work the best with my Sony player. With the servers connected, I selected Media Server from the player menu. All three servers appear on the Media Server list for selection. All servers grouped media access by video, music, and photo, as with the USB drive. However, the folder structure was different on each, perhaps due in part to how I configured those servers, as well as differences with the applications themselves. In general, I had better luck with movies and high-res music using a media server versus USB. I suspect the handling of the necessary transcoding is being managed by these servers. While there were a few movies I still could not play back, I at least knew movie playback was possible with this method, likely due to the extra layer of digital rights management, DRM, which DLNA is capable of, and this player supports. What remained is the awful navigation and omission of a search function. However, within the DLNA ecosystem, there is the ability to have a digital media controller, DMC, which can find content on digital media servers and instruct digital media renderers to play content. As the X1100ES can also serve as a digital media renderer, I decided to give this a try to see if the experience could be enhanced. For the digital media controller, I decided to search for DLNA-capable apps on my iPhone. I downloaded the Nero Streaming Player Lite. While labeled a streaming player, this DLNA-capable app can function as a controller as well as a player. The Nero app discovered my 3 servers and 2 Play 2 devices, the X1100ES Sony Blu-ray player, and the Samsung TV it connects to. As such, I could select a photo, movie, or song and play it locally on the phone or push it to one of the available DLNA renderers, in my case, the Samsung TV or Sony UHD player. The Nero app brought the experience to a more acceptable level, with album art shown on the iPhone and the ability to search without interrupting playback. When I push content using the app to the X1100ES, it takes control of the player, and you can see from the on-screen display when commands are sent via DLNA to the player. Here, having the media server capability on the Sony UHD player starts to make sense. The phone provides improved navigation, while my best digital device, the Sony player, serves as the renderer. With the light version of the Nero app, I couldn't search for content, but other apps do, so I imagine it's just a matter of testing out a few of the apps until I get the right combination of features and experience. Again, that is a topic needing a deeper review. Today, we're just getting a general sense of the capabilities inherent in the Sony player versus other options. I also tested the push function directly to the TV. The Samsung interface for DLNA hosted playback provided the album art, which the Sony player cannot display. But it's not my preferred path for audio rendering. In summary, I would say the benefits of using the USB and home network options on the Sony X1100ES are mixed. I feel the USB playback is for those who want to access their digital libraries without needing a network or media server. However, the experience is not up to today's standards. The home network media server option is better, especially when paired with a controller that has a good user experience. Now, one might argue that the need for either is going away and being replaced by streaming services such as Qobuz and Tidal. I believe that there is a benefit to having 3 modes of playback available in your home, depending on your listening mode. Mode 1, internet streaming, is for the most convenient access to libraries that are far more extensive than any home library you can assemble. Mode 2, local media servers, is for easy access to your library. That library that you have built up over the years with digital copies of your CDs and digital downloads. This library may be more personal to you than playlists assembled with online services with memories attached to each album. When you purchase, what were you doing at the time, etc. Furthermore, you have the assurance that you will always have access to this media regardless of what a service provider may decide to do in the future. And the third mode, physical disc. For critical listening, the act of physically loading a disc provides a tactile experience and connection to the music that streaming is not able to provide. Often the physical formats can sound better than as they are not compressed, albeit the quality of the streaming is improving all the time. With support for media servers and advanced player controllers, the Sony X1100ES can be part of it all, even if it's only playing the role of renderer. When I eventually update my AV processor, I will need to determine if the Sony UHD player will continue in this role or make the AV processor my new renderer of choice. If you also own a Sony X1100ES or similar player, I would be interested in hearing your feedback. Please include in the comment section. Are you using the Sony X1100ES with USB or a media player renderer? Do you have some setup tips you'd like to share? That feedback would be useful to the Ripewave audio community. Furthermore, if you enjoyed this video and are interested in enhancing your audio experience, please like and subscribe to this Ripewave audio community and be sure to select the bell icon so you will be notified as soon as the next video is posted.